Good evening.
Hi, I'm your host, Quincy,
And I'm your host, Sean.
and this is Over 30. And today we have our guests, Shanqunette Young and Pastor Deb, and we are going to be talking about dealing with being bipolar. We also have our entanglement letter entitled, Should I Embarrass Myself? But before we get started, we're going to read Shanqunette's poem entitled Bipolar. The pain is so deep, it cuts me to the bone. The sadness weighs so much, I feel 200 pounds heavier. The depression is strong, that the compulsion for suicide, it is a battle not to give in. The manic states have so many different levels, I feel as if I am 20 different people in one body. Sometimes, I don't have a pot to piss in, nor a window to throw it out, but I find myself spending so much money as if I was a millionaire. The sick, hollow feeling deep within me feels like I was gutted and nothing but a shell of me is left. This disease takes over your life till it is no longer yours to think on your own free will. I look back on my past relationship with my family and friends, see the damage I laid to waste. The destruction bipolar has on my life has me in such turmoil, I no longer know who I am at the very core. Yes, I raise up daily, ready to battle this disease in spite of the obstacles bipolar has put in my path. Oh, how I miss the days of only worrying about what to wear to school or did I pass that final exam. Now I must live hour by hour, minute by minute, because my state of mind could switch within a small time frame, and you will find yourself trying to push through turbulent cycles of episodes. Do you know how it feels at times to have no control of your body? I hate it when I find myself having crying spells and have no idea why I am crying. Dealing with the days of not being able to sleep for 3 or more days. The depression has you down so bad, you can't get out of bed. Disregarding general hygiene, could care less about your appearance. It is so hard to pretend at work or around others when you are going through a manic or depressed state. Having constant thoughts of suicide, so you find having conversations with yourself to keep you from acting on your thoughts. I want the old me back, but as much as I hate to admit it, she is long gone, and this is my new normal. If you have family or friends that suffer from bipolar disorder, take the time to understand them, educate yourself so you can be a source they can rely on that is extremely important. They also have support groups for family and friends to talk about what their loved one is going through, some of the things you and they deal with during episodes. Also, it is a source for you to lean on. Remember, it is hard on them as well as having to watch their loved ones suffer. Shanqunette, thank you for that poem.
You're welcome.
Very well said, and I think it explained a lot about what it feels like to be bipolar. So tell us, what happened that made you realize you needed to get help or that you needed to talk to someone?
Well, actually, I was thinking about maybe a couple years ago. I was thinking about recently. I actually had bipolar since I was a young child. The doctors told my mother and father that they shouldn't give me too much sugar because I was hyperactive. But fast forward, I was manic.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was pregnant with my third daughter, she was very sick. And she passed away at 5.5 months old. And that was the trigger that really opened the floodgates for the bipolar to really show itself. Whereas I wasn't just manic anymore. I was depressed. I was suicidal. I was, dysfunctional. Didn't have couldn't form a coherent thought. So it's been about 20, she turned 21 last Friday. She was 21 last Friday. So it's been 20 years that I've been battling bipolar. And throughout that time frame, I have been a guinea pig with my doctors on medication. One medication might work for me, but it may not work for somebody else's bipolar because we all have a different chemical makeup in our brain. Some days are good, some days are bad. Honestly, when I go to bed at night, I have no earthly idea what I'm going to wake up to in the morning.
Do you stress about that?
Do I stress about it?
Yes.
I don't stress about it so much no more, but more so since COVID hit and I've been working from home, I don't stress about it, to be honest. Because I'm in my own safe space. And when I have my breakdowns, my crying spells, I can step away from the laptop, you know, and go in the room and do what I need to do and come here and, you know, go back to work. Whereas when I'm at work, you got to go in the bathroom. As light as I am, you know, when I've been crying, I'm red, nose swollen, you know something's wrong. Bipolar is a very difficult disease to diagnose. And now, before it used to be just bipolar, now you have bipolar 1 and you have bipolar 2. And I take medication, but even though I take medication, it still has the power to overpower my brain, and I have that thought of suicide. So for me personally, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about suicide. And it's a battle for me to have that conversation. You know, don't go take that whole bottle of pills. Just hold on a little longer. Maybe get up and call a friend. You know, find something to try to get your mind off of it. I have had several suicide attempts, and 3 of them I was in intensive care for a while because I coded several times. It has, due to my lack of knowledge of bipolar, it destroyed my marriage. It destroyed my relationship with my children. It's just, it's like I said, it has laid waste to my entire life. It has destroyed relationships with family and friends. I also have to distance myself from some people because it really works my last nerve when some people tell me, just go take a nap. You'll feel better when you wake up in the morning. You know, it doesn't work like that. And, you know, I definitely believe in God, but sometimes you can't pray everything away. You know, it is a struggle for me. And the worst thing is to be up 3 and 4 days. Let me tell you, when a person is up 3 and 4 days with no sleep, they become panicked, jumpy, shaky, paranoid. You know, when I'm like that, I don't even drive my car when I'm like that because I'm not safe behind the wheel because I'm not coherent. I'm like literally up, and I could even take Ambien, Seroquel, and just don't go to sleep. And when you have bipolar, your brain literally does not shut down. It doesn't allow your brain to rest. It's constantly going and going and going, and you can't get that rest.
Shanqunette, let me ask you something. Do your symptoms persist when you're on your medication regularly or when you're off?
So the medication helps reduce it, not completely though. So right now I'm having an issue because out of the 20 years I've been diagnosed, I had a new nurse practitioner, and she actually put me on a drug called Latuda last November. That was the best drug I had ever been on since being diagnosed with bipolar. I still had the suicidal thoughts, but let me tell you, I didn't have them every day. And when I don't have a suicidal thought for just a couple of days, that's a blessing. Because it's a compulsion that your mind is telling you, you need to kill yourself. You need to take those pills. You need to do this. You don't need to be here anymore. You're not worthy. You're holding up space for somebody else that can be being more productive. You shouldn't be here. And this is my own brain telling me this. So with my insurance company now, they made me take a different medication. It's not working. I've had a hospitalization since in June. It's not for me, but they don't want to pay for the Latuda. Latuda is $1,200 a month for 30 pills.
Wow.
And here's what a lot of people don't know. When your insurance company denies you for that medication, they suggest another medication for you to take before they will approve that medication. But the thing is, the person that's suggesting that medication is not a doctor, is not a nurse practitioner, is not a nurse. This is somebody that has a degree, but cannot really tell you, you know, it's them telling us, okay, put on this medication, but that medication doesn't work for her. And I mean, something needs to be done about that, because you got people out here struggling, and they just want to, and I'm tired of doing the guinea pig thing. I found something that worked, Latuda works. I'm trying to get back on it. So right now they have me on Bipolar, and I have to take it for 1 more month before they'll approve my Latuda. So in the meantime, I'm struggling mentally because it's not working.
Well, yeah, and then that brings us into another issue with healthcare. But Pastor Deb, you want to chime in?
She just opened my eyes to so many things just by her saying her medication costs $12,000.
No, $1,200. It's $1,200.
$1,200.
Still a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, oh my God. What about the people that, number one, they don't even realize that they are bipolar. And then when they finally are seen by you said you saw a nurse practitioner. Have you ever?
Psychiatrist, yep.
A psychiatrist. Okay, so you did see the psychiatrist. And once they finally get there, and then they're immediately turned off by the medicine price, you know, because especially in 2020 where we are today, and so much is going on in the political world, and you know, this race is so important because of what's getting ready to happen.
Right.
But I just, you know, it takes me back to just like I said, my issue is alcoholism. I have never been diagnosed being bipolar, but I have suffered with depression, which I told you guys at the beginning, I think there's a thin line there. So, you know, anything to me biblically, that when you're double-minded, when your mind is altered in any kind of way, you are suffering. Okay. And bipolar may be my issue. I don't know. I've never been diagnosed with that. But I do know that the same feelings that you had and the same things that you went through, I went through the same thing with just having to have that drink, because it took me out of that depressed state that I was in. And I was in it often. My mom passed away from dementia. I took care of her for 8 years. My brother passed away with brain cancer after he was bipolar. And then he wound up getting brain cancer. I mean, go figure. But it all had to do with that. He had a lot of stress. And so I do believe that it was all tied in there together. You know, his brain was just overused, and just, you know, he would do stuff. He was a gambler. So a bunch of addictions, you know, came out of his sickness, his illness. They also suggested that he take medication, but he refused to take it because, hey, we're Christians. We go to church. God can fix anything. I understand where you came from. You say you can't pray everything away. No, you can't. But you know, it helps. But you're right. You can't pray. You have to take action, and you have to do some things in order for the prayers to manifest, if you understand where I'm coming from. So I admire your strength. It takes a very strong person to even acknowledge that they are bipolar. You know, same like you said earlier, Quincy, about, oh, you're a pastor and you're talking about alcoholism. Oh, yes, I am the new face of recovery, and I love it. God told me when he delivered me, yeah, I'm going to deliver you, but I need you to do something for me. And so I love the opportunity when I can say, yes, I'm an alcoholic. 3 years in recovery right now. This is my 3rd time and my final time. And I just know that we have to do whatever it takes to remain sober. And, you know, even with the bipolar, just being able to be on this type of avenue and shared with the world, you know, and helping others, that is, I think you need to be applauded for that. And I just love the discussion. I just love the whole discussion. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm amazed. And I just thank you for inviting me on the show.
Well, we're glad to have you. And I wanted to just, mention, because there's so many different points of view, when you're dealing with being bipolar, because my ex-husband was bipolar, and when we went back and did his research, we actually found out that he was actually diagnosed in the military, and the military never told him. Instead, they sent him to Kuwait, which traumatized him even more because he was there when the bunkers blew up, and they sent him in to collect the guns off of the dead bodies. And he was haunted because one of the guys that was missing the bottom half of his body reached up and grabbed him, and his finger got stuck in his buttonhole or his shirt, and he wouldn't let go, and the guy died holding his shirt. So even before he realized he was bipolar, sleeping was traumatic for him, because he would wake up literally screaming. He couldn't get this image of this guy out of his hand, out of his head, or the fact that, he couldn't get his, even when he died, he was still holding him. So he had to literally take his dead hands and pry him off his shirt, So he was traumatized, but he initially didn't want to believe that he was bipolar because he was embarrassed and he didn't want his family to know. Then he made the decision that he was going to tell people he was bipolar, which was a good thing. I think probably 90% of people were very supportive and, kind of commented, well, we never noticed any difference, which made him feel better. But he did not like taking his medication. And he ended up swapping his medication for crack, which made him extremely erratic and unpredictable. With bipolar, you kind of go, okay, you're off your medication, you're having a bad day, you're having a good day. You get to know these signs. But when you throw drugs into it, it takes everything to a whole other level. And it took his depression into violence, and so he had a lot going on, and I don't think he was really ready to admit that he needed to change anything. And so, I wanted to say, it's a struggle when you're married to someone with who is bipolar, depressed. My father is schizoassociative disorder with multiple personalities and violent tendencies. And I had him for 3 years. I cared for him for 3 years as an adult. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it takes a whole other type of commitment, to do it. So I just wanted to, come on and say my piece for people who have, family members and loved ones that are dealing with, mental illness, but you cannot not, think, okay, you were bad yesterday, you're still bad today. Oh my gosh, this is getting on my nerve, because it's not something that you actually can control, because no one wakes up and says, I want to be bipolar.
Right.
Absolutely.
No one ever wakes up and says they want to be any part of mental illness. No one ever says that. So, we kind of have to be more understanding and more supportive of people who have it.
Yeah. When I had got really bad, my mom had came up because I packed up my car. I went through it, so I packed up my car and I left the kids with their dad, and I drove to New Jersey. And my mom, I ended up getting the kids up here and everything. So my mom came up here to stay with me because I was doing pretty bad. She ended up only staying like 6 months. She said she could not stay in the house with me anymore because she did not know. She didn't want to be in the house when I died, because I was always just popping pills, just trying to sleep. That's what I did. I tried to sleep. I tried to sleep it away because it was too much for me to be woke. I tried to explain to my daughter recently, she was trying to understand it. I was like, this is not something I asked for. So trust and believe, if I had a choice, it's not something I want, because it becomes painful, physical pain, not just mental pain. And with the medication, at one point in time, just for my bipolar alone, I was taking Wellbutrin, Celexa, Klonopin, Geodone, and Ambien CR, along with Respitol. That's 6 medications for one illness.
Right.
That's 4 more than my dad takes with schizophrenia.
Right.
That's a lot.
And I was like, you know what? I came off of some of that medication because I was like, I'm taking all this medication, but I'm still not feeling better. So the Respitol, I had to come off of that because, just so you know, I tried to apply for a whole life insurance policy. Come to find out, that particular medication denied me for life insurance. I got denied for life insurance because of that medication.
Wow.
So there's a whole lot of looping and stuff going around that people just don't know behind the scenes. So, and I stopped the Wellbutrin and the Celexa because it was pulling out my hair. And that was supposed to be for my depression. But things got better when I got on the Latuda, but now that I'm off the Latuda now, I'm in a spiral. My body had gotten so used to the Ambien CR that it was no longer working. So they had to try different medications. So now I'm on Seroquel. Well, Seroquel makes me gain weight. That's why I don't like it. You know, so my doctor suggested to be on a Seroquel for a month or 2 to try to get the Ambien completely out of my system and then go back on the Ambien CR. And the Klonopin I take for my panic attacks. Panic attacks are awful.
Yeah.
They are awful. And then being in my new apartment by myself, I'm 48 years old, and you know I've never lived alone before. So this is a huge challenge for me. This is big. I sleep with both the lights on in an apartment. Any noise has me shaking and looking. I'm up no matter what time I go to bed. I'm up at 3 a.m. and cannot go back to sleep. So I just start working. I have this feeling of such emptiness on the inside. It's hollow and alone. And I do have what I call a team. I have some people that I can call when things get kind of bad. And they may not know what to say to me, but I could just be on the phone crying and they'll just sit there, you know, and listen. You know, and if it gets too bad, of course, I'll call the suicide hotline. But I mean, it's a struggle. It is a struggle to be bipolar.
And you touched on something that is just, you know, so true. Your body gets so used to that medication, they have to find you something else, or they have to increase your dose. Mm-hmm. When they increase your dose, that increase makes you non-functional.
Yeah.
So, you know, people think take your pill. Mm-hmm. You know, if it was only that simple.
And see, another thing where people get confused with, they get mad at people with mental illness saying, why did you stop taking your medication? The thing is, when we're on our medication, okay, yeah, we start to feel better. And then we think to ourselves, I don't need all that medication no more, I'm just fine. And then when you come off the medication, and then you straight for a couple of, because it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for it to fully come out of your system, right? So for 6 to 8 weeks, you living a good life. You know what I'm saying? You're smiling, you're happy, you ain't taking all that medication no more. But then you come down off that high and you crash.
Literally.
Right. And then now what happens? You got to get back on that medication. And I'm here to tell you, those hospital stays, they're not what you want.
Right.
They're not what you want. Because it's not like when you go into a mental hospital to stay, they have you on the floor with people that got several different type of mental illnesses. Unlike when you go to a regular hospital, if you got a heart condition, you on a heart floor. Everybody on that floor got a heart condition. So they separate you. So now somebody like me, I am very sensitive to other people's feelings. So if I'm around you and you start crying or you start acting a certain way, it starts to affect my emotions. So hospitals for me don't do very well. It makes me worse. I feel more suicidal coming out of the hospital than I did before I went in there. But then I have about 3 friends, they love it. They love going to the hospital. They said because they don't have to worry about their problems, they don't have to worry about the outside world, they don't have to worry about doing nothing because they somebody giving them medicine when they're supposed to, somebody telling them when to eat, when it's time to eat. They don't have to think, they don't have to do nothing. But for me, it feels like I'm caged up. And then I got to hear everybody else's problems, and it starts to affect me. So I don't do well in the hospital. And dealing with suicide, people have this misconception of it being selfish, right? The thing is, though, like my mom likes to say, it's selfish. That's because she doesn't want to grieve my death. But at the same time, she has no idea the pain that I'm sitting with every day, that I'm dealing with every day. You know, it's not that I'm trying to be selfish, it's just that sometimes it gets to be too much. I fight it on a regular basis. I try not to do it, but I've had, just like when an alcoholic has a lapse, I've had lapses, and I do try to kill myself. Because sometimes it's just too much to be here, to think, to breathe is too much.
And what is it, if anything, could people do to make this better or easier for you, besides, of course, giving you the medication you need without the expense? What can be done, or do you think should be done?
Honestly, I don't think there's much you can do. I have no idea. Like, I'm fine today, but I don't know how I'm going to be tomorrow. So I don't know what to ask for. I don't know what I'll need. You know, you just.
Do you
It's
feel
like
like
being at war with yourself. You're at war.
feel like each episode is different than the previous?
Some of them are different. I'm more leaning toward the suicidal. I do get manic, but sometimes when I get manic, like I was on the phone doing teledoc with my therapist. I didn't even realize most of the times I can catch when my moods are changing and what's going on with me. But for whatever reason, for this particular day, I didn't catch it. He was like, Shanqunette, did you have anything to drink today? I said no. He said, you took any extra medication today? I said no. He said, you plan on going anywhere today? I said, I don't know, I might go out. He said, I don't want you to go out and drive anywhere. I want you to stay home today. He said, because you are severely manic right now. You are all over the place, and it is not safe for you to be outside. He was able to pick it up, but I didn't catch it that day. And it's crazy because when we get manic, we have these times where we think that we're so great and we have all these amazing ideas and all this energy to put into all these different things. And you'll find us doing like 30 different projects in our mind at one time, you know. But when you crash, like I said, I can go for about 4 days up, and then I'll finally crash and sleep for a whole day. You know, and then we also have to deal with what's called rapid cycling, when your moods are literally flicking back and forth, back and forth. It's like you turn it on and off a light switch, and it gets uncontrollable. That is miserable. Like, I have to tell my body, pick a mood for the day. But all that back and forth is too much.
I'm going to ask each of you, because Shanqunette, you said it earlier that you were misdiagnosed as being attention deficit disorder. But
no, they said I was, well, I guess that is ADHD, being hyperactive. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Did you feel as a child, and I'm asking it to you and Pastor Deb, but did you feel as a child that you were depressed, or you were depressed more than other people?
No, but I was 18 the first time I tried to kill myself. So as I got older is when stuff started to present itself a little bit more, but it was in increments, right? So even now with my therapist, and he's teaching me, we're working on my triggers. That's what they call it. Mm-hmm. There are some things that could happen to me that causes me to go into a certain mood. So for me, it's my children. They're a huge trigger for me in the situation. I am one of those people that I'm able to actually go to work and function at work and do actually really well at work, because I'm able to shut down everything else and just put the blinders on and just deal with work. But literally, once work is over, it's hard. And I tell you also, like I tell them in group, anything after 6 p.m. in the evening, I'm no good. I begin to have an episode in the evenings. I don't do well on the evenings, and the weekends are the worst for me. This working from home has been I'm so thankful and grateful, because when I have those worst moments, I come here and get on the laptop. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or midnight. And I start working. And my boss is like, you sent an email at 1 o'clock in the morning. But I never would tell her, yeah, because I'm having an episode, and I think that was better for me to do that time. So work is good for me. But it's anything after 6 and in the weekends, horrible. And I notice when I go to my groups, everybody in my group say the same thing. When we have way too much time on our hand, our mind is chaos.
Ambassador Deb, how about you? Did you notice anything as a child?
Oh yeah, I noticed that I was a very outgoing, shy person. So that there you have it right there, double-minded. So I was a real thin young lady, long legs, long hair, beautiful but skinny, and you know, people teased me all the time, and you know, and I made people laugh. Okay, so instead of having fights, I would have them cracking up, and so everybody fell in love with me. I was the funny person. I was the class clown. And the whole time I was severely depressed. My father was an alcoholic, so I grew up in a house. My mother wasn't, but my father was. But also, I went through a lot of domestic violence as a child. I was molested at the age of 6, and nobody wanted to deal with it. It was not just me, it was my cousins as well. And so I started drinking at 6 also, because the adults would party, and I would, the party be over, they'd all be, you know, slung over or slumped over or asleep, and I go around and collect all the drinks, because now I'm feeling really good, and I really could be a clown now, because now I'm drunk. And by the age of 14, I was a full-blown alcoholic.
Oh, wow.
Depression, yeah, I had a lot of it. But I'm 58, so they didn't deal with depression the way they deal with it now. And I probably could have been diagnosed as having being bipolar, but they just called it depression for me. You know, oh, it's clinical depression. She has these episodes. Same thing. I suffer with panic attacks all of my life, until I dealt with my alcoholism. Once I dealt with the alcoholism, everything went away. The depression, the panic attacks. It was how, like she said about triggers, I started understanding my triggers. I know what I could do, and I know what I couldn't do. I know who I could be around. I know who I couldn't be around. And so those things helped me. I was in the mental ward for 5 days, so I understand what Shanqunette is talking about. And it was unbelievable. All I wanted to do was get out of there and get out of there fast. I had one guy tell me, don't take the medicine. And so he showed me how to put it up under my tongue and go spit it out. And so I know exactly what she's saying. But that was just 5 days of that. And then when I started in recovery, I started learning how to know my triggers, and I started learning how to deal with the alcoholism and the depression and everything that went with that imbalance in my head, that chemical imbalance. I had to really understand that you have an issue. And I think that's what helped me the most. But listening to Shanqunette, I'm relating so much with bipolar, and I blame it. I mean, I guess they diagnosed the alcoholism, but they sound so similar. And, I even went through the suicide thing twice, but right at the point when I tried to commit it instantly, that's when God kind of took over. So my spirituality came, and, I kind of grasped hold to that. And so it was a little easier for me to get up out of those states that I were in. But I remember those bouts with that depression being so hard. And then the drinking, on top of it. So what the drinking did was it dulled the pain from my depression, and it made me become, the party. Double D was my nickname. I bartended. I did everything. I was a party person. Party was my life, and but coming down from that and coming out of that and really knowing who I was, and getting to know the real me, you know, that's what helped me a lot. And I did whatever it took to remain sober. That's what I like about sobriety choices. I didn't necessarily go through AA, the anonymous groups, and I tell you, I don't like to be anonymous. I like to talk about it. I like to tell people about how you know, I was an overcomer through grace with God. And, you know, so I know about that imbalance. I know about it. I know about it. And I want you to continue doing what you're doing, talking about it, admitting it, seeking the help, because some people don't seek help. You know, like I said, I'm what, 58, and I've been alcoholic since I was 14. That's a long time. And I just really dealt with it 3 years ago, January 29th, 2017. And that was the first time I really tackled it. Okay. And then once I got past, and now that I'm in recovery, the depression, the panic attacks, they all have ceased because I dealt with it. I dealt with it. I denied the medication that they wanted to give me. And I went kind of like cold turkey, hard turkey, but with God. And so that's what helped me, you know, pull through and every day with him. You know, prayer is very important to me. I understand what you're saying about it, but it's all I have. And so, you know, you have to, you know, if you have a spiritual side, I just tell people to cling to it, whatever it is. You know, I don't want, it's just like now when you tell people to vote, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just telling you to exercise your right to vote. And it's the same thing, whatever you have, whatever it takes to get you to that point where you no longer want to commit suicide, you know, cling on to that. And that could be a lot of things for a lot of people. I love God. I do. I love him tremendously. But I'm not opposed to people doing whatever it takes for them, you know, whatever it is, you know. If you hang around me, you're going to get a little Jesus. That's all I can say. And that's the only thing, you know, that keeps me whole right now. It is, you know, and I like to talk about them. That's why my show is called Ask Pastor Deb, and I have Ask Pastor Deb Recovery Cafe, and we talk about everything at the cafe, at the Recovery Cafe, because recovery is the most important thing that you can have in life. You got to come out of it. We got to, you know, figure out a way for you to come out of it, you know. So I'm very emotional right now because just hearing her story, it's just blessing me in so many ways because I was there and now I'm out. And you know, I know you're coming. You're going to get it because you have the determination. You do. Anybody that can get on here and talk about it and write what you wrote, you're determined. You're going to do it. You're going to do it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you talking about it is going to help so many people, Shanqunette, and you too, Pastor Deb, because I think I and a lot of other people see our own selves in your stories. Because at one point or another, you know, we've all been there. We were talking before the show started about being in your 40s and how that feels like a whole other kind of manic depressant where, you know, you're re-examining your life and you're questioning it and people are going, what's wrong with you? And I don't know. Right. But I also want to say, you know, just going back to the question I originally asked you guys, I'm going to take the liberty and speak for my dad, who didn't really talk about his mental illness. But I asked him, I said, you know, well, when did you realize? Because when he was actually diagnosed, I was 12, and I think he was probably 38 or 39, maybe older. But I asked him, I said, you know, well, when did you know there was something wrong with you? Did you know, as a little kid? And he said to me, I would wake up at night and I would see things and I'd be terrified. And everyone told me it was just a nightmare. He was like, but I was awake. Mm-hmm. So he said he stopped talking about it because he did it so much, he got punished for it.
That happens to me.
Yeah, I don't think they thought he was mentally ill. I think they thought he was maybe looking for attention. you know, maybe wanted to get in bed. But to him, you know, and I asked him, what were you, you know, seeing? And he didn't want to talk about that. You know, but I'm pretty sure if you're a kid, you know, whether you're, you know, 5 or even 16 and you're seeing things and you're wide awake, it's a problem. Especially if no one sees them.
I mean, also another thing being bipolar that we deal with is, yeah, we see things and we also hear things that aren't there. And one part of your brain, no, it's not there. No, it's not there. But then the other part of your brain is like, no, I heard that. I saw that. And to me, when it happens to me, I don't never see it straight on, like if I'm looking at something. It's always in my peripheral vision. So that's why you always question, like, was it there or maybe not, you know? So I can see why your dad didn't want to talk about it. Because what they would call it back then, oh, they're crazy. And see, I have an issue when people say that crazy word, because crazy and mental illness are totally 2 separate things.
Yes.
They are not the same thing. You know, to me, crazy is the young man, you know, going to shoot up the church. That's crazy. Now, he's crazy. But when we're born with a chemical imbalance that we have no control over, we just got to figure out how to make do. You know, so I mean, it's a hardship, and that's when I try to tell people how painful it is and how I can't even begin to tell y'all how upsetting it is to me to see something in my peripheral vision or hear something and it's not there. You begin to question your sanity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. And unfortunately, we'll have to close out of here and go to our entanglement letter. Before I do, Pastor Deb, I'm give you first words. You want to give any closing words to this segment?
I just want to say once again, I am so thankful that you invited me on the show. And I was trying to figure out, well, how am I going to talk about bipolar and I'm not bipolar? And then when I thought about it, I'm like, talking today, you know what? I think I have some tendencies or, I'm probably saying it wrong, but you understand, I can relate so much because the chemical imbalance with the alcoholism is really the same. A chemical imbalance is what? A chemical imbalance. And so it's so relatable, and so once again, I just want to thank Shanqunette. Is that your name? Am I pronouncing it right? Okay.
Shanqunette. You close.
Okay. I want to thank you for sharing your story and opening up. And I just want to encourage you to, whatever it takes, I'm not preaching to you, but I'm just inviting you to your spirit, your inner self. Okay. Your inner spirituality. It's something there. And I want you to really tap into it because it's going to help you so much. I'm a living witness.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Thank
it.
you.
And Shanqunette, before I let you talk, Shad, I am so sorry. I see you down there. You having technical issues. Did you want to comment or ask questions?
No, it's been a learning experience. I really can't say that I've ever had a relative or anybody that I know of that I've dealt with that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe the alcoholism, but nobody that's not still alcoholic. So, you know what I'm saying? Kudos to you ladies for just talking about it. It gave me a little bit more insight on it, and it was a good learning experience. And I'm going to say like this, I can now maybe look for some signs in maybe some of my family members or friends, thanks to what you guys just taught me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely education. I mean, like I said, I grew up with my dad. I was married to somebody bipolar, and I learned some things today. So thank you so much for sharing. Shanqunette, closing words?
Just be vigilant and look out for people, look for those triggers, look for those people that are going through something and be there for them. Everybody need a team. When I say a team, I don't mean like 12 people. It could be just one person or two people. Just somebody, just be there for somebody that you can hold them down and have their back and they know they got somebody in their corner.
Definitely, and I do have to skip over here. Forgive me, because I should have had a couple of things pulled up, but I did want to mention that if you or anyone you know is going through depression, especially issues of suicide, please do not hesitate to call the National Suicide Prevention Line, 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. Especially with the holidays coming up, people might not be able to get to their friends and their families and their loved ones. Make use of the line. It's 24/7.
And they also have a chat line as well, if you don't feel comfortable talking on the phone.
Oh, that's news.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good one. And I apologize. Let me go back. I'm trying to find my letter. I apologize. I don't have it pulled up. Where is it? Our letter, I'm sorry, our letter is called, Should I Embarrass Myself? And I guess right now I'm embarrassing myself because I can't find my letter. Oh my goodness. Let me see. Search for this a different way. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay. Hi, I am a widowed man over 50 and a man of God. I attend church and am faithful about it. I started to have feelings for this very beautiful woman at my church. I missed her during coronavirus, and Sunday she came to church. I was so excited to see her, I just grinned when I talked to her. I'm a simple guy with a high school diploma, and I get by. Someone says she has a PhD. She also drives a Mercedes and is always well-dressed and carries herself like a lady. My heart wants to tell her how I feel, but I don't think I am her type. She has never been anything but kind and friendly, but I don't see her looking at me like I look at her. I don't know where she lives, so I was thinking about bringing a bunch of long stem roses to church and ask her out for dinner or a picnic before it gets too late. But I am worried she might say no in front of everybody, which would embarrass me and give church folks something to talk about. What do you think, Sean? Should I embarrass myself?
You only live once. I made it a point a few years back to start my bucket list early. I didn't want to wait until I got too old or anything like that. So I am a firm believer at saying what you want to say, letting your heart bleed out, just getting it off your chest. I mean, so that way you have no regrets or anything like that. So I say, go ahead, man. You only live once. I mean, it's just a little embarrassment. I mean, people are embarrassed every day. You'll live through it. If it's sincere enough, you'll get some of those, oh, it's so sweet. So, you know what I'm saying, might not be as embarrassing. I would just be as sincere as possible and give it a shot, man. You know what I'm saying?
And he shouldn't assume just because she has multiple degrees and has a nice car that she would look down on him like he's not on her level.
She might be looking for a good man. Those are harder to find than men with money.
I'd rather have a man, especially at my age, I'd rather have a man that can treat me good and can take care of me when I'm having my episodes. I don't care if he don't have no lot of money. You know what I'm saying? I can rock that out. But I need, we all need some type of companionship.
Pastor Deb, what do you think?
I think he should go for it. I mean, like Sean said, you only live once. And he's thinking about her, so he just needs to see if it's going to go any place. Like, if it happens, it happened. And if it doesn't, it just doesn't. He'll be okay.
Yeah, he'll be okay. I think he needs to probably ask some more questions because if he doesn't know that much about her, she might have a man at home. I think he needs to do more than grin the next time he sees her.
Right.
That's true.
That is true. I didn't hear that.
I didn't think about that either. Yeah, maybe he should engage in some conversation with her at first.
Yeah, and find out, if because I think sometimes it could be all in the way you say it. You might not be my type, you know, but I might be attracted to you once I get to know you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so he should probably start with getting to know her and see if he can get in that way. But we're gonna get out of here. That's it for Over 30. I am so grateful, Pastor Deb, Shanqunette, y'all came on. Shanqunette, your story is greatly appreciated. You know, in your moments of depression, I also want to say you didn't just write that poem. You sent me 3 others. They're all very good. You know, put it together, put it in a book, put it in a blog. Keep talking about it.
That's right.
Make that your mission and your reason. Keep talking about it.
Okay.
All right, and I'm gonna play the music. We're gonna get out of here.
All right. Bye-bye.
Until next time
Bye-bye.
on Over 30.
All right.
Peace and good night. Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome. Thank you.